Hi, I'm Caleb Crider. As missionary church planning strategists in Barcelona, Spain, we hosted a lot of church groups that came overseas on a mission trip. To be honest, we had a lot of bad experiences. We had groups that would come over and they'd say, hey, we really like this method, or we really like this program. We want to do this because it works back home. And we had a hard time trying to figure out how do we work in volunteers and these part-time churches that just wanted to come over, once a year. How do we work them into our ministry? How do we make that a fulfilling and fruitful partnership? So after several negative experiences, we kind of got to the point where we would just tell churches no. In fact, I got a call from a church in Oklahoma that called and they said, hey, we'd love to come to Barcelona. We really feel like that's where God wants us to come. And so like a good missionary, I told him, no, no thanks. We don't have anything for you. A year later, the same pastor calls and he says, look, I'm not trying to be rude. We're not trying to go around you, but we have to be obedient. And God's calling us to Barcelona. Rather than come with their agenda, this church came with blank slates saying, look, tell us where to go and Spirit, you lead us and we'll do whatever it takes, whatever you tell us to do. We saw them move into relationships and ministry, spend time with people, share the gospel with people who had never heard the gospel in a way that they could really understand and wrestle with. God used that experience to say, what started out maybe as cooperation of churches working together to do mission, somewhere along the lines turned into churches outsourcing missions to the experts like me. That's not a safe place to be for the church or for missionaries. And so we started to see more and more that the commission belongs to the church. What was the difference between this church, this group from Oklahoma, and some of the others that had come before? To be honest, I think it's that this church, they really saw themselves as missionaries. At the Missional Ministry Conference, we're going to talk a lot about how you as a church leader, as a pastor, as a church planter, can see yourself as a missionary. I think a lot of us would do things differently if we saw ourselves in this light, if we saw ourselves as missionaries to our culture, as deliberately put where we are. Not in ministry in our own culture, but as foreigners, as outsiders, trying to minister and produce or build the kingdom. At the Missional Ministry Conference, we'll talk about practical ways to be on mission. Ways to think about who we are and how we should relate to culture, what church planting should look like, what indigenous church looks like, how to share the gospel in a way that makes sense to the people that we're ministering to. We'll talk about the theology and worldview, but we'll also talk about very practical ways to engage our communities. Some good examples exist right there in Oklahoma. Please join me at the 2010 Missional Ministry Conference.